Welcome back to the Warrior's Garden, everybody. Today we're talking about cold weather conceal carry and some tips and tricks that I want to share with you guys that I've learned from living in cold weather. Let's do our scripture reading and then we'll get into the video. Today's scripture reading is John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So I've lived my entire life in a cold weather state, and because of that, I've learned how to comfortably conceal carry in the cold. I'm sharing that with you guys today, so if you're traveling through a cold state or you're moving to one, hopefully this will get you off on the right foot. Getting right into it, very first thing, what you wear is super important. And I know that sounds super simple, but in the cold, we just have a tendency to throw a bunch of layers on, bundle up, get nice and warm, but that can cause problems later down the road if you haven't put some thought into where you're going and what you're doing and where your pistol's at in that clothing. And what I mean by that is, for example, if I'm going to be outside and I know this coat is what's going to be my top layer for the majority of the night, then I want my pistol to be behind my coat. I always want it to be one layer down so that I can easily get to it. I don't want to defeat my bunch of layers of garments, right? I don't want to pull a coat and then a sweatshirt and then a vest or whatever to get to my pistol. I want to be able to just grab my coat, pull it up, grab my pistol. So always keeping your pistol one layer back. An example where it wouldn't be your coat was if, let's say I was going to the movies or something, I'd put my sweatshirt over my pistol and then my coat on. I'd drive to the theaters, obviously I'd take my coat off right away, and then my pistol is now back behind just one layer of garments. I just have to beat my sweatshirt and I'm set. Moving along, the next thing is pants. This one sounds a little goofy, but getting a good pair of pants if you're going to be out in the cold for a long time and not going inside at all is pretty important. So I have found that the more layers you have around your waist, the more uncomfortable it becomes to conceal carry very quickly. If you got a pair of jeans and long johns and shorts or whatever, that all builds up on your waist, and then you put a pistol in there and it becomes very uncomfortable with a lot of pressure on your abdomen area. And it sounds goofy, but it's not comfortable. So if you're going just to the movies, like I said earlier, a pair of jeans would probably be fine. But if you're going to be outside for a long time carrying, I recommend getting a good pair of fleece-lined pants, whether that be a Carhartt fleece-lined or these are like our Sims pants, whatever it is, something that's got a good layer in it to keep you warm so you don't have to have a bunch of layers around your waist and then a pistol pushing on you as well. Next thing, this is what I prefer instead of gloves. So it's really hard to shoot with gloves on if you don't practice a lot with it, and it's even harder to shoot with winter gloves on, right? You got those big bulky gloves, especially if you have mitts. It's hard to mitts, it's impossible, but you can't, it's hard to get to your gun. You have very limited dexterity. So what I actually recommend is getting or making like this is just a big hand warming mitt. And what I do is I run it underneath my firearm, and this is again in the scenario of being outside in the cold for a long time. If I was just going right inside, then I wouldn't bring this. But so now I can keep my hands warm. I can throw some hand warmers in here. And what I'm doing is I'm putting it underneath my firearm so I can still easily defeat the coat and then pull my firearm out. But what I've done now is made it so that I don't have to take any gloves off. I don't have to try and worry about getting my pistol out and getting my finger in the trigger guard with some massive, skiing glove. I can just pull my hands out, get to the pistol, and go, right? Now, if you don't have something like this and you want gloves because it's cold or whatever, I'd either recommend getting some really thin gloves, or I'd recommend, I guess, thin and warm gloves. That's hard to do. If you can't do that, I'd recommend getting mitts. And I know that's kind of contradictory to what I just said because you can't shoot with mitts like these. There's no possible way to do that. But where my thought process is and what I've seen from my own experience is it's much easier to get these off quickly than it is to pull fingered gloves off quickly. And usually it's probably in the same time frame. However, if your hands are all sweaty or all wet, it's very difficult to get your fingers out of fingered gloves. You can get one finger stuck or might not come all the way off. Whereas with mitts, it's very easy to just pull these off, no problem at all, and they fall right off because your fingers are not all individually seated. So I would recommend first a hand warmer pouch like this, and second, I would recommend getting some mitts. The last thing I'd recommend to you guys, as always, is just to train. The more comfortable you are shooting in the summer and be able to get to your firearm, the more comfortable you're going to be shooting in the winter. All the same principles and fundamentals are still going to apply to shooting in the cold. You just have a couple more things to think about, whether that be more clothing or gloves or whatever the case might be. You just have more to think through where your pistol is going to be and how to get to it. You might have a couple more layers to defeat, excuse me. But your fundamentals should still be the exact same, whether it's -30 or it's 150 degrees outside. So continue to train, practice, dry fire, all that good stuff. That's really what's going to set you apart and make you proficient. But just a couple tips and tricks that I thought might be worth sharing to y'all. So as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, guys, and I will see you in the next video.